Let's talk about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, for those who don't know, is an online personality, to state it, very mildly. He is mostly famous for one time being a kickboxer, and now he sort of runs around with his shirt off with fancy cars and good-looking women and smokes cigars and says some things that are sort of sometimes potentially of useful critiques of the left, but mostly says, crazy inflammatory stuff online and has generated an enormous, and I mean enormous, following. You can have your own views of Andrew Tate. That's obviously fine. You might think he's misogynistic or vulgar, which is absolutely true, and he absolutely is. But the fact is, he appeals to a lot of people, and he represents some things that a lot of people are very interested in. And I think the way that some people are defending Andrew Tate is a conflation of a couple different ideas. I think there's a big difference between having people on, have, whoever you want on, that's totally fine, and cheering on bad people who actually don't care about your principles or any principles that represent good virtues for living in a great society. And Andrew Tate is clearly the latter. I'm not upset at all, with anyone actually just interviewing Andrew Tate. Go for it. Have at it. There are actually tons of excellent, hard-hitting questions to ask Andrew Tate. But none of these people are asking Andrew Tate any of these questions, whether that's Candace or Tucker or most recently Benny Johnson. Instead of, a lot of people are sort of just, glamoring and glomming onto his online popularity in order to get a bunch of clicks. It's a grift. The interview that Candace Owens did with him was ridiculous. She actually stated that you've changed, despite the fact that there is zero evidence of that. In the same interview, he admittedly said that he won't apologize for anything he did. He actually brags about it. The relationship of Candace and Andrew Tate is very odd. After claiming over and over and over again that she opposes porn and promiscuity, she has no problem praising Tate, and now others are following suit. Right? Andrew Tate is not the masculine figure he's propped himself up to be. He rips off thousands of people with his Scam Hustlers University. He preaches the virtue of treating women in every way you would never, ever, ever, ever want to allow anyone ever to treat your wife or daughter. Again, no one is saying you can't have Andrew Tate on your show. It's a free country. Of course you can. You should do what you want. What I'm saying is that if you say you're a conservative or someone who lives by principle or these sorts of values, then you have someone on who truly is disgusting, and you sort of proceed to tout them, praise them, nod along with everything they say, and basically cheer them. You're doing more than just like platforming them, because there's a difference between having a conversation with a person and basically becoming a propagandist for that person. You certainly have a moral obligation to ask Andrew Tate, who is a self-stated bad man, hard questions about his actions and his beliefs and his past. But so many on the right have helped him falsely rewrite his legal record or just ignore all the things he's actually said while nodding, yeah, wow, enthusiastically. Now he's trying to play himself off as a politician, which is ridiculous. He's not. He's an influencer. He's an online troll. That's really what he is, right? Because if you think about it like this, criticism is not censorship. If you say or do something stupid, you should expect backlash. Free speech works both ways. But everyone knows this, so why does it need to be said? Because a game is being played by bad actors who hope to shift the focus. They lie and pretend to be censored to discredit their critics as intolerant while generating sympathy for themselves as victims willing to pay the price for saying or doing all of these forbidden things or just asking questions, right? It's dumb. It's a dishonest game designed to turn criticism they've earned into support they didn't. However, if you really think about it, at least I do, I understand the appeal of Andrew Tate. I get it. I've seen his stuff. He's very charismatic. And for decades, this is a real important point, the hatred of traditional masculinity in our society has been so strong throughout the media, throughout politics, from our institutions, from our colleges, really everywhere. And they've sort of feminized what masculinity is supposed to be. So young men, for at least a generation, maybe two, have basically been told they were useless at best and toxic at worst. And that leaves a giant hole, a giant vacuum, a vacuum for somebody who can sort of cosplay, masculinity like a WWE heel. And Tate fills that vacuum with his form of masculinity. But masculinity has good iterations. It also has really, really ugly iterations. You can think of masculinity as like a hammer, right? A hammer can be used to build something great, or a hammer can be used to beat someone over the head, right? Masculinity is about what it represents, but also who is representing it. And the iteration that Andrew Tate pushes is not a responsible or a healthy masculinity, which any young man or boy should ever follow or want to be like. But since there's a void, Andrew Tate filled that void. So we need to prop up better role models for young men, more integrated, healthy, traditional, masculine, strong role models for men, so we can have something to aspire to be like. Because an integrated, healthy masculinity is all about channeling the sort of testosterone-fueled side of man into protecting women and children and civilization and building good things. But the Tate kind of masculinity aims to tear everything down. It's a barbarian masculinity that's interested in destroying rather than building. The integrated, healthy, traditional, strong masculine is interested in building. It's interested in being the warrior poet. So what he really is a con artist. He's actually an evil con artist. If you believe the allegations against him, and there are lots of them, he's actually an evil con artist. Even if you just believe the stuff he said about himself, what he says is evil. He's made his money off cam girls, which is to say he's a self-professed pimp, and he's made his money grooming women for the industry. Choking a woman with one hand while beating her senseless with the other? Is this why, Andrew Tate is the hero to Benny Johnson and to Candace Owens? Now, all people are very upset, rightly, about the grooming gangs in the UK are going to have to explain why they're okay with Tate's grooming gang. If you know anything about the grooming gang scandal in Britain, they would convince these young girls that they were in love with them, and then they would pass them around to their group of friends for money. It is an evil, massive scandal internationally, as it should be. But I guess for Andrew Tate, if you confess to doing things like this on tape, like he said, then morally it's somehow okay because you're anti-woke or something, or whatever the moral sort of rationale is for it. Because prosecutors are investing the serious allegations, including with minor and underage people. The allegation, by the way, is that he did the exact same thing that the grooming gangs did with a 15-year-old girl. There is serious footage of this on the internet, of her speaking about it, and Tate actually physically assaulting her. At the very least, the stuff he has said about himself on these matters is pretty terrible. Again, the stuff he has said, there is evidence everywhere on the internet of the stuff he has said. Right? He's currently going on trial in Romania, while all supposedly running for like prime minister, of Great Britain in order to stop radical Muslim grooming gangs. But he is also Muslim, and he has also been a part of grooming gangs. He is a self-stated Muslim, according to his own statements. He was involved in grooming girls. This, again, according to his own statements about himself. I'm not saying it. He's saying it. I'm not saying it. He is saying it. Self-professed self-statements. If you're covering for a self-described bad guy like Andrew Tate, you're doing it wrong. If you're traveling to Romania to let him lie about his grift and pretend away his legal cases and act as though he's a paragon of masculine decency, you are participating in the lie. If you spend your days shouting correctly about all this evil stuff, but not about Andrew Tate, you are a fraud. Full stop. And worse, if you're cheerleading Andrew Tate, that makes you an accomplice to what he's doing, not an open-minded person just seeking truth or opening forbidden doors or just asking questions. There's not much of a difference between supporting Andrew Tate and supporting Jeffrey Epstein or the UK grooming gangs. Really, truly, the wildest part about Tate is that he puts endless videos of him online saying blatantly self-incriminating things. The most infuriating part is that folks will just ignore it all. So thank you for your time and attention. We'll see you next time. Cheers.